The evening began with a burst of joy that felt almost timeless, as if nothing could touch the warmth in the air. The house hummed with life, glasses clinking, laughter blending with conversation, and soft candlelight casting graceful shadows on the dining room walls. My wife, Clara, had just received a major promotion at her law firm. The news lit up her face with a brilliance I hadn't seen in what felt like forever. She was radiant, her smile magnetic, drawing everyone toward her effortlessly. Watching her, a deep pride welled up in me. She had worked so hard for this, and tonight was all about honoring that. To mark the occasion, Clara organized a dinner at our home, inviting friends, co-workers, and even her boss. I spent the afternoon getting the house in order, cooling the wine, and dusting off a charcoal blazer I hadn't worn in years. Everything needed to be just right, for her. And Clara? She looked breathtaking. She moved into the living room wearing a deep red dress, modest but unforgettable, the kind of outfit that made the entire world stop for a moment. I was mesmerized. She noticed and gave me a playful smile. "Is it too much?" she asked, smoothing her palms along the fabric. "Not even close," I replied quietly. "It's perfect." For a little while, everything was. The house buzzed with warmth and cheer. Stories flowed freely, glasses were raised again and again, and laughter wrapped the evening in comfort. I stayed mostly in the background, letting Clara soak in every bit of attention she deserved. But then the night turned. Victor, her boss, stood up with a wine glass dangling loosely in his hand and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Everyone turned to him, expecting a friendly toast. But his words sliced through the air like ice. "James," he said, lifting his glass in my direction, "you do realize how Clara got that promotion, right?" The room stilled, the atmosphere shifting abruptly. He let the silence drag, letting discomfort settle in like fog. "That red dress she wore last week. It stopped traffic in the office," he added, chuckling with a jagged mocking laugh that scraped against the walls. No one moved. Faces froze in disbelief. My brain struggled to catch up. Maybe it was a joke in poor taste, maybe he'd had too much to drink. But he wasn't done. "She could show up in a sack and still command the room," he said. "You're lucky, James. She's loyal. But I'll admit, for a minute, I considered doubling her salary." The air seemed to vanish from the room. Every set of eyes shifted toward me, but I was locked on Victor. Clara had gone pale, her mouth slightly open, but she couldn't speak. The glass in my hand pressed painfully into my palm. Without thinking, no breath, no pause, I was moving. 3 strides and I brought the wine glass down against the side of Victor's head. The crack of shattering glass rang out, final and sharp. Gasps burst around me. Someone screamed. Victor reeled backward, clutching his face as blood trickled from his temple. I stood firm and pointed to the door. "Get out." He didn't speak. He simply stumbled toward the exit, humiliated. No resistance, no apology. Just shame. The others left soon after, quietly, quickly, avoiding my gaze, leaving the house hushed and empty. When only Clara and I remained, I turned to her, still shaking. "You're not going back there," I said, my voice low but unwavering. She looked at me, stunned, her expression caught between disbelief and something else. Fear, perhaps, or quiet defiance. "It wasn't my fault," she said, barely audible. "I don't care," I replied. "If you return to that job, we're finished." The next morning, I woke to the sound of the iron hissing. Clara was in the bedroom, calmly pressing a blouse, pretending the previous night hadn't occurred. "Please don't," I said, softer now, a plea hidden in my tone. She didn't look at me. "I need that job." I stepped closer, my chest aching. "If you walk out that door, we're over." What followed was a storm. Sharp words, raw emotions, pain hurled back and forth like broken glass. She tried to dismiss Victor's behavior, blaming it on alcohol, insisting it wasn't that serious. That's when I realized something painful. She might have been more terrified of losing her position than of surrendering her dignity. I couldn't stand it. I grabbed my keys and walked out, the walls of our home suddenly too tight to breathe in. When I returned that evening, Clara was curled on the couch, her eyes swollen and glossy. "He fired me," she whispered. "No warning, nothing. Just gone." Victor, now protecting his bruised ego and bandaged face, had let her go that morning. No explanation. No severance. I hadn't wanted this, not really, but somewhere deep inside, a sliver of relief slipped through. Maybe now she would see what I had all along. Staying under that man's control wasn't just toxic, it was soul-crushing. Weeks have passed since that night. Clara has been applying for new roles, her days filled with searches and emails. But there's something different in her now, a quiet fire, a new kind of resolve. That dinner broke something open in both of us. It wasn't just Victor's cruelty that night. It was the truth hiding beneath it all, how much we were willing to ignore, how long we'd stay silent, and what we were willing to protect.